Welcome to the fourth in the series of videos on the history of electricity. In this video, we're going to talk about how historically the one fluid theory evolved and how the positive and negative signs that we see today in battery was first introduced and why it was introduced. All credit for all this goes to the famous Benjamin Franklin, and he was really politician. He was a reformer. He was a multi-talented person, but his true passion was science and exploring through science, which he did quite late in his life. He happened to be living in Pennsylvania in those days. That was an English colony. And he used to frequently visit England, and during one of his visits he brought back the Leyden jar, and he wondered where this electric fluid came from, and he wondered if someone rubbed a glass rod and filled it with electricity. Did the fluid come from hand, or did it come from the ground? So he posed all these questions. To answer this question, he made a person stand in a famous experiment. He made the person stand on this wax base, and this wax, because it's a good insulator, so it doesn't let the electric or electrostatic charges leak. And he made this person rub a glass rod. So this glass rod was rubbed using silk, and he realized that this glass rod attracted the paper. So thus he came to a conclusion that, hey, there was nothing that came from the ground. It was just something between the glass rod and the silk, which led to this glass rod attracting the paper. In the second experiment he did, he could transfer these electric charges from one person to another, and he could have this second person attract pieces of paper. So he realized that hey, there was something special going on here. After this experiment, he came to the following conclusion. He imagined that all objects contain this so-called electric fluid. So he thought that this electric fluid is contained by all objects. And now on rubbing, he realized that one of them would gain the electric fluid, and the other would have lesser electric fluid, right? So these are one gains electric fluid and other loses. And on contact, he realized that, or he imagined, he made a theory that the electric fluid moves from one with larger fluid so he imagined that the electric fluid moves from the one with more electric fluid to the one with less electric fluid. So he came up with this convention that, hey, the one with more electric fluid is plus, and the one with less electric fluid is minus. And he imagined that always the fluid moves from plus to minus. In the modern circuits, we imagine that you have a battery, and this battery is connected to a bulb or something like that, and you say plus to minus, and you say, hey, this current moves from plus to minus. Now you must understand that this whole idea of current moving from plus to minus is coming from the Benjamin Franklin fluid theory. Franklin's fluid theory, right? And today we know a lot more about what's happening inside this electric circuit, but during those days, at least the idea was a fluid moves from the one end where there is more electric fluid to the other end where there is less electric fluid, just like the way water moves across a pipe across two tanks. It always moves from one with higher level to a lower level. So sometimes the conventions that we use today are because of historical reasons. One more experiment that Benjamin Franklin was responsible for or famous for is the famous Kite experiment. And in this experiment, he had a kite go up in the sky when there was lightning, and he designed this rope such that it would bring down all the charges, the fluid, the so-called fluid. And here was a key, and as he touched this key, he realized that he was getting that small shock. So he realized, hey, the fluid is passing through, but he didn't know if that fluid was same as the fluid which was produced by rubbing. So what he did was he transferred this charge into his Leyden jar, and he took this jar and he basically did the same experiment that was done using Leyden jar to short circuit the inside and outside, and he found that the sparks flew from inside to outside. Thus he concluded that the so-called fluid that he imagined was a natural phenomenon. During those days, it was believed that this fluid passing down on buildings and destroying the buildings was due to some kind of godly act or punishment for somebody doing bad. So he came up with these so-called the modern lightning conductors or lightning rods on top of buildings, and these are earthed, grounded. So he used this to save a lot of buildings, and within a span of few years, all buildings in North America, Europe were fitted with these lightning rods. So thus ends this section of history of current electricity. In the next section, we will talk about batteries and the flood of inventions that happened from around 1700, 1750 onwards due to invention of batteries. So see you then.